Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. In today's video, I'm gonna start a new series where we'll be migrating away from FlutterFlow into pure Flutter code. It is possibly a new direction for my channel as well, using AI to build apps. This is because AI has improved significantly in the last 2 years. And now a visual development tool like FlutterFlow is no longer the best and fastest way to build a production app. Flutter was great 2 years ago, but because AI has grown so much, I truly believe the future is in agentic coding. This is simply a high level of abstraction in coding moving forward. I hope this tutorial series will really help you, and thank you for all the FlutterFlow support that you've provided me. I will continue to create content to help you build apps. It's most likely not going to be pure FlutterFlow focused going forward. It's going to be broader, using agentic coding and AI automation. Let me explain why we're making the move. You're building an app, or you have already built an app in FlutterFlow. During that process, you're hitting a lot of walls. Whether the widget doesn't suit your needs, you have to work with the limitation of FlutterFlow, the feature it offers, in order to build something that is not perfect. But now, because we're taking the code away into pure Flutter code, we won't be hitting any more walls. There is almost no limit to that ceiling. You can also build faster with AI now. Instead of you drag and dropping, building the backend logic, you can build 10 times faster. And that's exactly what you want. You want to be there to build new features for your users, give them what they want, validate, and then launch quick in order to gain revenue and traction with users. You're no longer limited to people who know FlutterFlow. You can reach out to the broader Flutter community in the whole world. So where FlutterFlow falls short is probably why you're making the move. You've hit a ceiling, the feature limitation practically offered by FlutterFlow. You're stuck inside the builder. So everything has to go through the FlutterFlow interface. If it's not a widget or feature supported by the platform, it's a struggle to make it happen. You're building custom code, custom widget, and it just slows you down. And lastly, you're renting your own app. So this happened last year. If FlutterFlow raises prices, changes plan, or even shut down in the future, your app is at risk. We don't want to be in that position. People that was here last year definitely understands this, where FlutterFlow changes prices and plans. There was a huge debacle about it. Let's not let that happen again to you. So that's why we are making the move. FlutterFlow may not be the best going forward for you. It's okay to feel scared as a non-technical founder. In this video tutorial series, I'm going to put the hat of a non-technical founder on. So I'm not going to be using the terminal where I scare people. It's going to be pure AI prompting, and that's my goal, to help you complete this migration and build your app further. Do you know that you actually have done this before? When you first started FlutterFlow, you're like, hey, what is a widget? How do I build this? What is backend? What is Firestore? But in the end, you figured it out by reading the documentation, by watching YouTube videos like myself and asking help on the community. What's happening now is everything's going to feel new again. Like you have new tools, an IDE, a Codex, GitHub, new terms. But except now you have AI. Every question will be answered instantly. Every error explained and code is written for you. And you'll figure this out too. And I'm here to support you and help you with that. The process is identical. The tools are just better. So it's worth the investment, to be honest. Like on the other side is an app you fully own with no ceiling, no lock-in, no monthly bill. Simply you and your imagination. Enough of the explaining why we're doing this and the motivation talk. So how are we building this, right? We are going to let AI do the heavy lifting. So you don't need a developer to follow along. We are going to be using AI tools like Claude Code, Codex, Gemini to write and refactor the app for us and build on top. You describe what happens and the AI builds it. So you will need at least a plan with Claude, OpenAI, or Google. Preference is yours, right? Some people, there's a huge debate on what is better. Models always changing all the time. There's token usage, discussion, blah, 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 right? Let's not go into those and let's actually use one of them. Currently, in the past few months, I've been using Claude Code, but now I'm changing to OpenAI because of the recent release and the restriction on tokens in the past few weeks. That has really throttled performance. I currently only have the $20 plan, and that has been enough for me. There might be times where I'll need to wait and then continue, but if you really want, you can pay for the $100 plan. In the end, it's going to be similar, right? So you either on FlutterFlow $39 or $80 plan, or even $150 if you're a business plan, you can actually, AI will be cheaper here. So if you just subscribe to a $20 plan for basic, or you pay for the $100 plan on growth or $20 plan on AI plans, for business, go for the $100 plan from Claude, OpenAI, or Gemini. That will last you a long time and with almost no restriction in terms of token usage. Pick one that suits you. Maybe you prefer Claude, maybe you prefer OpenAI. That's ultimately your choice. And whichever you pick, what I'm doing can be followed along. This is the roadmap. Okay, in today's video, I'm gonna show you how you can download FlutterFlow code, how you can set a GitHub for your code base, in addition to how you can start refactoring this so you can run this locally on your machine. In the upcoming videos, I'm going to tackle little bits and pieces of the migration. So whether that is understanding Firebase and how to set secrets, migrating your API calls to Cloud Function, how do you deploy to App Store and Play Store, and more, or using AI to guide along the way. So before I get started, I understand that every app is different. Drop a comment below and tell us what feature you're most worried about migrating, and I'll cover it in the next lesson. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and let's get started. So I'm going to take you through an example where I have a proper production app that's on the App Store and Play Store, and this is a personal app of mine. And I'm going to be using this app across my whole series. So this is a marketplace app that I've built to sell table tennis equipment. So nothing too fancy, just a typical marketplace app. Okay, I won't go too deep into it. So what you need to do first is download the code. So you can go to this little icon here in the developer menu and press download code. Once that's downloaded, you get a zip file, and unzip it and save it to your local desktop. Next, what we need to do here is open it. So in this series, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code because I like using the extension of Claude Code or Codex in Visual Studio Code. This might look daunting at first, like, holy crap, what are all these like little things going on here? Like, what are these files? What are these lines of code? Don't worry about it, okay? Don't think about this. I don't want that to be a limitation because you're scared of it, okay? This is the same thing as when you first open FlutterFlow. You're like, holy crap, what is this screen, okay? I like using Visual Studio Code, but you can use Codex or Claude Code if you want. So you can also open the folder in Codex here. And this is what I've done. There is no file explorer within Codex. I hope that's a feature in the future. That's why I kind of like Visual Studio Code, because you can explore the files. But in the end, this is just, think of this as ChatGPT, where the output is code, and you can do other things with it. Okay, now that the project is open, let's create a GitHub project. So go to GitHub, you sign up to an account, and you can press new repository. So think of GitHub as like a Google Drive for code, but with more functionalities targeted towards developers. We'll be primarily using it as like a place to save our code. This is particularly important because you download the code, you work on it, and somehow, bam, your computer is broken. Your code might be lost. This is where we use GitHub to save our code all the time. So I'm just gonna start a new project called Table Tennis Junction, which is the same name as my project. I'm going to choose this to be private to make sure it's only I can see it, no one else can see it. And I press create repository. So now GitHub will be like, hey, this is your link, blah, 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 okay? So during this whole series, I am not going to touch the terminal. So you are like, what is the terminal? The terminal is basically this little thing that allows you to type commands into it. It's pretty scary because it's just like, oh, okay, it's all black and line, you know, it's all black and old school, right? Like from like 1980s before I was even born. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get AI to do it. Okay. You can use Claude Code, you can use Codex. Okay. But to examine on the left-hand side, it's if you're using Visual Studio Code, or you can use Codex and say, hey, do this, right? So what I need to do here is now, hey, I created a GitHub project. I want you to connect this project to it and sync to it. I created, so I press enter. I will bypass permission. Basically, if you don't select full access or bypass permission, it will prompt you to review commands and things like that, right? I've never had a bad experience giving AI full access or bypass permission. It's always done things correctly. It hasn't gone like, hey, search the internet for something bad and then do something about it. So overall, it's quite quick. And you can see here, it asks you for certain things, blah, 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 blah. Do you want to use the public repository? Let's include them as now. It will ask you a series of questions. So this is what's happening. It's creating an initial commit and is pushing to GitHub. And then it may prompt for authentication if this is your first time using GitHub, but I've already logged into GitHub for previous projects, so I'm on GitHub already. So you can see AI has told me, hey, it has published the project to GitHub. So if I go to GitHub and refresh, you can see here the code is exactly the same here. Like here are the files, and here is the file uploaded to GitHub. So what you need to do next, all right? So I don't want to go extend this video forever. What I want to do here is lay the groundwork for all future videos. So we've downloaded the code, we have uploaded it to GitHub, and what's next? Let's not jump into any refactor yet. Let's show you how you can run the app itself. So you can simply run the app by, hey, telling Claude or AI, run the app for me. So if you're using a Mac, you can use Simulator. If you're using Windows, I'm not too sure, it's probably like Android emulator, or you can run it locally on your Chrome browser. So if you use test mode on FlutterFlow, they use a web version. So here's what you can do, right? Run the app for me in Chrome. So this is almost like a FlutterFlow test mode. Or if you want to run on a simulator, you just open simulator on your computer. Of course, you need to download Xcode and install Xcode if you're a Mac user, so you can run the simulator. But anyway, so you can see AI is doing it all for me. I am not touching the terminal to scare anyone. Okay, now that's launched. AI said, hey, Chrome is running the app. You can use R in the terminal for hot reload, capital R for hot restart, and Q for quit. So this is probably the only time you'll probably use the terminal. But you can always tell AI, be like, refresh it for me, hot reload for me. You can always do that, okay? So it looks to be fine. Like I'm signing up. I am, give me a second. Okay, there it is. So that's basically the app, right? Like this is the web version of the app, essentially. And you can see there's like, it runs perfectly fine. That looks pretty good. So that's how you download a FlutterFlow project and run it. So what's next? So what I'm going to do basically next is start the refactor. So how I like to start the refactor is use plan mode. So plan mode is basically this. Claude will export the code and present a plan before editing. If you're using Codex, you can just go /plan and then turn on plan mode. In addition, what I like to do here is use the highest model possible because it's a refactor. So switch model for Claude to Opus 4.7, the most complex task. Do note that high usage. Or you use Codex, you go extra high intelligence. And I just keep the standard speed. And they have plan mode here. So I only have 83% of my limo of Claude. So hopefully it can do the planning. So I'm going to say, hey, I want you to refactor this FlutterFlow code base into pure Flutter code. Look through the whole project to ensure by the end there will be no references to FlutterFlow concepts. Let's see what happens if I gave it a very kind of vague prompt. Okay, this is what you'll probably be doing, right? So plan mode, the highest model should work. You can of course turn on like effort to extra high, max if you want. I'm just gonna go Opus 4.7 plan mode with this prompt. So what's doing now here is it's going to look through the whole entire code base. And I forgot to say, ask me questions. Ask me any questions if you're confused. if you're uncertain. So I'm just going to tell it that just in case it does make its own decision. But I want it to confirm with me if it has any questions. So it asked me a series of questions. What is my goal? Stop using FlutterFlow entirely. Not this, not decouple, but keep FlutterFlow content compact. You may want to re-import. No. Rename. No. I want to stop using FlutterFlow entirely. How aggressive should the widget be? Replace blah, blah, blah with stock material. Keep widget rename the same. I want to be aggressive. I want to replace it with material widget, but it says visual parity not guaranteed. Okay. Let's do the most extreme. Your answer will depend on your kind of decision. And then how should blah, blah, blah be handled? Okay. Keep pattern, drop FlutterFlow. I'm going to drop it. I'm push it to its limit. And scope of this refactor. Do it now or stage it. You know, it says recommend do a stage refactor. Let's just follow what AI says. Okay. Okay. Now that it has asked me like a series of 10 questions, it's going to do the plan. So now Claude has finished planning. You can see it has, written the plan. Very, very long plan. Blah, blah, blah. You can read through it if you want. It's very, very detailed. Okay. You can keep planning. You can ask it to keep planning, but you can auto accept as well. So subsequently, you can actually copy this plan out if you want. You can paste it into Codex if you feel like Codex is a better executor. I'm just going to let it say yes and auto accept. You can prompt it again. Hey, look at it. You can prompt it again and say, hey, look at it and review your plan to make sure it's right. You can do that. Ultimately depends on the amount of tokens you have as well, because you want to have a token to execute the plan. So I'm just going to auto accept. And I have actually used 85% weekly usage and resets in 11 hours. So I don't know if I will actually completely refactor this app without a wait in terms of kind of the throttling every 5 hours done by Claude. One thing to note is that I would switch this back to bypass submission, and I would use a lower model to do the execution. So Opus is really good at planning, but I recommend switching to a less costly model when it's executing the task. I'm going to pause the video here and I'll circle back when the refactor is done.
A few moments later.
So after around 20 minutes, all 5 phases are done, and it has launched successfully in Chrome 4. So I'm going to sign in. And voila, it looks exactly the same. And no joke here, it is amazing. So I'm just going to do something. Let's try this out to see if it works. And it does save Steven with my last name. And wow, like that is amazing. What it also did is that for each phase, it pushed to GitHub so you can track the changes, but a lot of files were modified. Okay, so I'm not going to QA the code because it's a huge code to QA. I'm going to trust AI has done the work. And if it runs, it's good enough because this allows you to use AI to further build out each feature. There might be little remnants of FlutterFlow concepts here and there, but that will get picked up later on as you continue to build and build, right? Nothing is perfect from the first time. I hope this video helped you a lot in migrating your project away from FlutterFlow. Going forward on this migration series, I'm going to be focusing on different parts of building your app, whether that is connecting deployment to App Store and Play Store so you can deploy new changes, or understanding Firebase rules locally and making those changes. So I hope you follow along with this series and the migration. If you ever need help, please feel free to reach out. And finally, remember to comment, like, and subscribe for more content on building with AI. See you next time.